Hey guys, Parfax here, and today is another PVE Fire Staff video. Alright, let's get started. So today's video is going to be revolving around the Fire Staff and its use in PVE, mainly expeditions and mutations. Now, I did put out another video not that long ago about another Fire Staff video, which is going to be like the highest single target and overall damage that you can run. You should never have to change it in any expedition that you run, but this one is going to be focused on the ranged playstyle. The reason why the other one is a lot more consistent and has a lot better use cases is because Flamethrower gets around a lot of the bad mutations that you can't get around with this one. For instance, Phalanx destroys this build. Phalanx, if that is something in the dungeon, unfortunately, you're going to have to basically run Flamethrower. It is an absolute bitch. But that video, you can go watch, and it still can be played at range, but when you have a mob with Phalanx, it is just great to have Flamethrower. And the ones that, well, you get damaged whenever you use an ability, that one over there doesn't get around, or that gets around the whole getting damaged with ability because you're only proccing one time with Flamethrower. And if you want to play a little bit more safe, that's a great way to play it. But this video is going to provide you less group utility, but more ranged damage. So let's go ahead and get into it. And you can see here that we are running a Fire Staff Blunder. Now, you might be like, well, Void Gauntlet. Well, Void Gauntlet would be fine if you're going to be running closer. But just the amount of small empowerment you get for the short period of time that Oblivion is on is not really justification for it. We're going to go big AoE damage here. So first, let's go with the Fire Staff because a few things have changed from my last video. So let's click on the Fire Staff here. And again, of course, we're going Rune of Helios, but now we're going Fireball, Meteor, and Pillar. Now we're taking all the way down here Pillar because Pillar is going to be almost a spammable, especially if you get Pillar of Fire on the staff. This is going to be an ability that you just spam this over and over and over again. Then, of course, we're running Meteor Shower. This is a nice single target damage increase. This is a great ability now. This is going to give you big AoE. You're going to be able to put this down on single targets. It's just an overall great ability. And your actual least damaging ability you're going to have, which is Fireball. And we're going all the way down, but we do get some nice cooldown reduction here. We're going to be spamming a lot of spells with this build, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So let's go over the passives. We're not going to go over them too slow. So we have the heavy attack. We're not going to use this very often. We'll tell you in the cases they're actually going to use this. We do want Clear Mind. We want Singed because we are going to be light and heavy attacking a decent amount. More light attacking than heavy attacking, but I'll get on that here in a minute. And then Clear Casting, of course, extra damage. Then we have our 2 Crit Strike Chance and Crit Strike damage passives. And then we have the Flare passive. This one did just get nerfed, but we'll tell you about how to use this and what case to use this when we get to showcasing the build. And then we have, of course, Rune of Helios. Then we're taking Pyromania. We're taking Let It Burn because we got to have something in this row, and it's better than Heat Up. And then we have Kindle that our Smolder supply 20% longer. We wouldn't mind getting Watch It Burn, but we have a lot of Smolder through our kit. Every one of our abilities is going to apply stack to Smolder, so we're going to be pretty easy on that. So let's go over to the Blunderbuss. We did mention that as our secondary weapon. We'll go over that skill tree, and then we'll show you how the build plays here. So let's go to the good old Blundy. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, why aren't you going for the Unload passive? Well, here's the thing. We're not going to be basic attacking on this build very much. We're basically going to use it for grenades, and then if we are close enough, Azov Shrapnel Blast, and we're just going to use Net Shot only to get away. We don't really care about this ability at all. You can run, honestly, whatever you want. Don't run Mortar. Mortar is just a straight loss in DPS. Mortar fires extremely too slow, and we have so much AoE damage on this build that there is no case scenario where you're going to want a Mortar over even heavy attacking with the Fire Staff. So don't run this ability. It's a complete trap. We will have a PvP build video with Mortar in it, but right now this is the play because, like I said, we're casting grenades. So we're running double down to get that extra cooldown reduction. Other than that, we have Shrapnel Blast. Like I said, if you're close enough to use it, it is an increase in DPS, but don't go out of your way to use it. Don't run in just a Shrapnel Blast. Only do it if you have the option to. And then we're running some of the tanky passives. We are running Ramp, which is fine, but honestly, it's not going to do a whole lot for us, but if you happen to, you know, reload a couple times, this give you a little bit of increased damage, but you really don't want to do this. But there's no other passives we really need. And then we have deep load, the last shot in your blunderbuss will do 15% increased damage. Honestly, like I said again, we're not going to be standing on this blunder very often. We're mainly just doing it for splitting grenades, and then every now and again shrapnel blast, but it is a little bit extra damage if we get there. And then, of course, we have our bread and butter, which is splitting grenades. We're getting some cooldown reduction. We're getting some extra fortify. Yeah, fortify got nerfed, but we have a lot of passives to spare here, and we do want to get the double down passive, which is why we're going so heavy onto this tree. We're running buckshot, artillery, extended chamber, and last chance, which is always really, really good. All right, so that was the quick rundown of the skill tree. Now let's talk a little bit about the playstyle. So with this build, we are going to be focusing almost solely on the fire staff. So we're going to go here to the fire staff. We're going to kind of show you how you want to engage the fight. So the big thing to note here is in order for you to hit pillar of fire, you want to make sure they have 5 stacks of smolder. So that means you never, ever, ever want to start with pillar. What we're going to do is to engage almost any fight, we're almost always going to start with meteor. We're going to hit our fireball, and then we have 5 stacks of smolder, and then we can pillar. So we got everything ticking. So this build, we want to keep our smolder stacks up as much as possible. That is the goal here. And you can see our cooldowns are pretty low. Pillar of fire would have been already up if we were hitting multiple targets. So we can dodge, do our meteor, dodge fireball, hit pillar. Now we can just light attack. Light attack is going to keep these smolder stacks up 100% of the time. So very easy rotation. You're going to do the exact same rotation if you're hitting groups of mobs as well. You're going to dodge, meteor shower, dodge, light attack fireball, dodge, light attack pillar. We're doing the light attack first because it's a little bit of an animation cancel. It gets you a little bit extra burst damage. It also is going to put a stack of smolder on your target. So in between that, you see our cooldowns are coming up really fast. We don't even have a bunch of refreshing on this build. You can go, swap, hit the grenades, swap back, and continue our rotation. We're getting that extra damage. We're getting the fireballs. We're getting smolder stacks. We are just absolutely cruising now. So that's going to be the basic rotation. Like I said, if you happen to get in range, you can give them a good old shrapnel blast, and you can even get out with your net shot if you want to do it that way. But like I said, you really don't want to do that. You only want to use shrapnel blast if you are actually in and near the target. All right, so that is the easy rotation. It is the exact same rotation as everything else. You can play this build from a very long range. This is going to be a very extremely safe play style. This is going to be, I think, one of the best builds next patch for people that are just trying to cruise easily through dungeons. You have so much AoE damage. Our Heart Rune Gem, which we're going to talk about here in a second, is also AoE damage, and it is pretty crazy. Now, let's say you have a group of enemies. We'll go ahead and can we hit all 3 of these dummies? We might be able to actually hit all 3 of these. No, it looks like we're only going to hit 2. So, like I said, we're going to start with Meteor Shower. We're going to go ahead and hit Fireball. We're going to hit Pillar. And then we're going to swap, hit Grenades. And then now we're going to swap back to the Fire Staff. Once you get there, we're just going to heavy. So we have the passive that makes us be able to heavy and get our cooldowns back. Or not get our cooldowns. We have that passive too, but it has the AoE. So we'll go over here so you can kind of see it. You can see here we're hitting the targets, but we're not actually hitting the targets. So whenever you're doing this and you're AoEing the mobs, I mean, you can't AoE the target, but you really want to not hit the target that's in front because you want to try to make sure you're positioning yourself to where you can hit mobs. So like if they're all surrounded around this target, let's say there's like one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. You don't want to hit this target in front. You actually want to hit in between them. You want to hit like right there. So make sure you're getting the most out of your damage there. So it is a nice little increase in your AoE damage, and you do get some cooldown reduction from it, but when we are targeting bosses, it is more damage for us to light attack. I understand that you're going to get cooldown reduction from the passive, but it is more damage if we just light attack. We have a lot of abilities in this build. We have a lot of cooldowns. We have Pillar of Fire, and we have a lot of refreshing. Our cooldowns are not very long. We're going to be spamming spells pretty quickly, so we do not need to heavy attack and lose that damage. Now, once you get 5 stacks of Smolder and you're pretty close to having your abilities up, you can give it a nice little heavy attack to get that little increase in cooldown reduction, but especially with the passive, your heavy attacks go slower. So we're really just looking at light attacking here, keeping up Smolder as much as possible, and then going from there. All right, and like I said, we do have the Heart Rune Gem. We are running the Brutal Heart Rune of Cannon Blast. This is an explosive blast, does AoE damage. You can run whatever you want here, but like I said, we are going for AoE burst, and this is going to give you a nice little burst of damage. So you can see here, gets a little AoE around it. You can run the burning one, but this one's going to give you a little bit more AoE. Let's go ahead and get into the attribute points. We are running 100 Constitution and 410 Intelligence while in light armor. This is going to fluctuate. We don't know exactly how much Constitution we're going to have to run. We know that if you're running melee, you are going to have to go up some Constitution. You're going to have to get more defenses because you're just going to get hit more often, or at least you're not going to hit more often, but you're going to get hit harder next patch because of the fortified nerfs. So we're just going to standardize our builds at 100 Constitution right now. And then just if you are feeling squishy, we're going up. The reason why we're not going strength is because we are just using, basically grenades. So we don't really want to put any points of strength because most of our damage is coming from the Fire Staff. When it comes to gear, all very standard. We just want refreshing ward on our gear. Not refreshing ward, but refreshing and whatever ward you're going into. The abilities we are going to need, very similar to my last video. You're going to want basically, you kind of want all 3 perks from the Fire Staff. You want Pillar, you want Meteor Shower, and you want Fireball. You don't need any of the perks here on the Blunderbuss. None of these really do anything in PvE, but we do want all 3 of these. Getting the Pillar Fire on your weapon can be very good. I haven't actually ran the numbers yet to see if it actually is better. It's definitely not more damage on single target, but it could be more damage AoE. So take that with what you will. When it comes to your weapon, basically you're looking for 3 of these abilities. You're looking for Keen, Vicious, Keenly Empowered, Chain. So the reason why Chain is actually good on this build is because, especially with Chain Fire, because we are going to have some fire damage here, obviously, because we are Fire Staff, is because Attunement did get nerfed last patch, and it's going to give you a little bit more AoE. When we're heavy attacking the mobs, when they get in the clump, we're going to proc Chain. Now, is it something that I would go out of my way for? No. But it is something, if you have it on your weapon, it is still really good. Keen, Vicious, Bane is going to be a great one. Vicious, Keenly Empowered, Bane is going to be another great one. Any of the combination of those. You can do Enchanted, but we are extremely ability reliant on this build. We are going to light attack a bunch, but we definitely kind of want to stay away from the Enchanted side. I know that's what my Fire Staff is here, but we're on the PTR. So we don't want shirking of any kind. That's not good. Keenly Empowered or Keenly Jagged is okay, but we're really not looking for Keenly Jagged. I would much rather have Chain. It's going to proc your Heart Rune faster, and it's going to do just more damage in the dungeon overall. So we're looking for those perks. On your ring, the rule of thumb here is I like a Keen on either my ring or my weapon. Now, if you get it on your ring, it's actually technically better than if you get it on your Fire Staff. The reason is if we're looking for one of the two, you can actually go with both. Now, there's been a lot of talk. Somebody said, well, if you don't, you're stupid. You don't know what Keen is. The problem is, and let's tell you why Keen is actually good on the Fire Staff. So the Keen is good on Fire Staff because first off, we have this passive here, which gives us 10% increase to critical strikes. We also, if I go to the tree here, we have another 15% increase to critical strikes. And then when we look at our weapon, we have a 1.25 critical damage multiplier. We do most of our damage on crits, so we want to crit as much as possible. Now, if we could get crit damage there instead, we would do that. But Keen is a direct increase in your damage. I know a lot of people don't know that. Keenly Empowered, it's actually kind of easy to get to your Empower cap, which is the reason why I'm going to shy off of Keenly Empowered in this build. We're going to get Empower from our Meteor Shower. We're going to have Empowers from things like Oblivion if we're standing in one. We're going to have a decent amount in power in this build just in general. So we know, of course, we have our Powerful Holding Stones, which is going to give us Empower as well. So We're going to have a lot of empower in this build, keenly empowered. We're going to be able to get to that cap pretty easily. And with this build, keen is going to be absolutely fantastic. So when somebody says keen is bad, especially on stuff like Firestaff and Void Gauntlet specifically, keen is actually very, very good. So keen, vicious, keenly empowered, chain, bane. Those are the perks you're looking for. Prioritize vicious and bane over absolutely anything. And then after that, you can just fill in with what you want. So, all right, guys, try to make this video kind of quick. This is going to be a very fun video, very fun build. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to be running a version of this build next patch for sure. We're getting the gear ready for it already, and I can't wait to bring you guys some in-game footage of it. Let me know in the comment section down below what you want to see. Do you want to see another PvE video? Do you want to see an update to the tanking video? Do you want to see a PvP tank video? But all right, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe like always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.